Welcome to Behind the Beats. I'm Maya.
And I'm Ben. Today we're diving deep into a story that's shaking the foundations of the music industry and forcing a painful reckoning with power, fame, and abuse. The federal trial of Sean Diddy Combs.
For decades, Diddy wasn't just a mogul, he was the embodiment of success. The flash, the jets, the parties, it was aspirational. But Ben, that meticulously crafted image, it's shattered.
Shattered is the right word, Maya. It started with quiet murmurs for years, stories about volatility, anger, but the real crack came late last year with Cassie Ventura's lawsuit.
Cassie, his high-profile ex-partner, she didn't just allege a bad breakup. She described years of alleged control, coercion, physical abuse, being forced into horrific acts with others. It was horrific. And while it settled quickly, the genie was out of the bottle.
Absolutely. And that crack became a chasm when the federal case brought in a witness known only as Jane. Maya, her testimony, delivered anonymously in that Manhattan courtroom, it was chillingly specific.
Jane described meeting Diddy in 2021. The classic love bombing. Charm, gifts, rent paid, access to his luxurious world. But then, the control started. Where she went, who she saw, what she wore. Then came the escalation. Being pressured, repeatedly, into doing things with other men while Diddy watched.
The phrase that haunts me from her testimony, finish strong. She described trying to resist subtly, saying she was tired, hungry, making faces, avoiding eye contact. But she testified that Diddy dismissed it, pushing her forward. When asked why she didn't just say stop, she broke down. I don't know.
That speaks volumes about the power dynamic, Ben. She described crying, begging with her eyes for it to end, only for him to allegedly say, "Don't do that right now." Her pain, her consent, treated as an inconvenience. She called the whole thing dark and sleazy, a far cry from the glamorous couple they appeared to be publicly.
And this brings us to the core of the prosecution's pattern, the freak-offs. Jane testified these weren't spontaneous parties. They were orchestrated.
And that pattern became undeniable when Jane's testimony echoed Cassie Ventura's exactly. Cassie also used the term freak-offs, describing hundreds of them. She also alleged being forced into sex acts with others, orchestrated by Diddy, alongside physical assault and emotional breakdown.
The parallels are staggering. Both women described being funded by Diddy, creating a dependency. Both described a system wrapped in luxury but built on control, where her acts became a currency and refusal wasn't an option. Prosecutor Maureen Comey argued this wasn't about kink, it was about domination, emotional, financial, sexual. They're calling it racketeering.
The defense, of course, calls it a consensual lifestyle, but the sheer volume and consistency of these accounts, it's incredibly hard to dismiss.
The drug element, Maya, takes us into even darker territory. Jane testified drugs weren't just present, they were a requirement for these encounters. She described blacking out, staying awake for days, numb. Her pain was dismissed as inconvenient, especially if he was high.
And the control went beyond the hotel rooms. She testified he used her as a drug mule, making her smuggle ecstasy pills across state lines in her checked luggage. She was terrified, but felt she couldn't say no. He paid her rent, controlled her movements. The lines between provider and captor were completely blurred.
We actually heard audio evidence of this control in action. A recording played in court captured Jane asking a man to use a condom during an encounter in Miami. Diddy's voice, off mic, allegedly guilt-tripped her out of it. It wasn't something he wanted to see. Her attempt to protect herself was overruled instantly.
And Jane and Cassie aren't the only ones speaking out. Ben, the testimony from Brianna Banner Bongolan, Cassie's friend, was bone-chilling.
Absolutely. Bongolan testified that in 2016, Diddy allegedly held her over the edge of a balcony at a Los Angeles high-rise for 10 to 15 seconds. She described it as paralyzing, leaving her with night terrors and lasting trauma. The defense tried to discredit her timeline, but her certainty about the act was unwavering.
Each new voice adds weight. The prosecution is painting a picture of a man who used wealth and fame to isolate, manipulate, and instill fear, creating a circle of silence.
So, Maya, the stakes here are astronomical. Diddy faces federal RICO charges, running a criminal enterprise involving abuse, manipulation, and control. If convicted, we're talking 15 years to life in prison.
But it's more than prison, Ben. This is about the complete dismantling of a legacy, the self-made billionaire, the symbol of black excellence and hustle culture. That image is gone. The music industry is forced to re-examine everything, the mentorship, the influence, celebrated under this now horrifying shadow.
His defense maintains it was all consensual, a mutual alternative lifestyle, and that these women are distorting events. But the sheer volume of overlapping detailed testimony from multiple sources, including that damning audio, it's a massive hurdle.
This trial, Ben, feels like a watershed moment. It's not just about one man's guilt or innocence in a legal sense.
It's absolutely bigger than that, Maya. It's forcing a brutal examination of the systems that allow power and fame to become shields for alleged abuse. How much did people suspect? How much was ignored because of the success, the influence, the brand?
Jane's unsent message haunts me. I don't want to do drugs for days and days and have you use me to fulfill your freaky, wild desires in hotel rooms. She never sent it. But now, through her courage and the legal process, the whole world has heard it, and heard Cassie, and heard Banner.
Whether Diddy is convicted or not, this trial has irrevocably changed the conversation. It's exposed the potential dark cost of unchecked power and luxury. The echoes from this courtroom, Maya, they're going to reverberate through Hollywood, through the music industry, and through our culture for a long time. It's a reckoning that's been a long time coming.
And it's a stark reminder to look beyond the champagne toasts and red carpets and ask, what's happening behind closed doors? Thanks for joining us on this difficult but necessary discussion.
Yes, well said, Maya. Thanks for watching. Join us next time.